As I said before, you are joining the Iowa DOT and Iowa State Patrol Winter Resources webinar. Here today you have myself. I am Andrea Henry. I am the Strategic Communications Director for the Iowa DOT. We have Craig Bargfried, who is the Winter Maintenance Operations Director for the Iowa DOT. We have Debbie McClung, who is the Strategic Communications Director for DPS, as well as Sergeant Alex Dankla, who is the Iowa State Patrol PIO. The purpose of today's webinar is to talk a little bit about how we coordinate our two agencies during winter events and how the media can plug into that and most successfully report winter conditions to keep the public safe. I will say that if you are listening to this, if you could please mute your devices. We will go through the presentation and have an opportunity at the end of today's webinar to ask questions. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so after we are finished here today, we will make this available to anyone who is on the invitee list. So why we are here, one of the things that's really important for those of you on the call to know is that our two agencies work very closely together to keep the traveling public safe. We are constantly in collaboration and coordination to share information to help people have the information they need to make smart travel decisions and stay safe on the roadways. We also work together to make sure that we have the most current and accurate sources of winter driving information. So we are constantly in collaboration, and we're going to share a little bit more about what we do operationally with you today so that you have a good understanding of where we're coming from and how you can plug into that information.
Okay, this is Craig. So we're going to talk a little bit about, from an operational standpoint, what we do and what we do to prepare and get ready for winter. So the thing in our world is that winter actually begins, whether there's snow on the ground or not, on October 15th. And from the DOT's perspective, that means that we have to have a percentage of our equipment prepped and ready to go should we incur any early season type of event. That also means that beginning on October 15th, that 511, the public website for traveler and road information, we begin doing our road condition reporting so that you can see what current road conditions are on that website. And we continue with that reporting all the way up until approximately April 15th. Now, as we saw last winter season, we actually extended on beyond the 15th of April because we did have a few events that impacted the state that required us to update that website and provide current road conditions. So a little bit about salt. Statewide, the Iowa DOT is sitting in a pretty good position right now. We are just a little bit over 100% of capacity. We have 101 garages across the state with about roughly 228,000 ton of storage of salt material. We contract for that material each year, and a large percentage of that material comes out of Kansas. The remaining material comes up the Mississippi from Louisiana. Our mode of operation is to typically, as we come out of winter season, begin to fill up our sheds. So in theory, by the time May, 1st of June rolls around, we are back at 100% of our capacity and are prepped and ready for the following winter season.
The State Patrol, our stance kind of starts looking at winter operations somewhere around that October timeframe as well. We start gearing ourselves into that winter mindset. Our uniforms, we start switching over in October to our winter uniforms, but then we also start prepping kind of our cars and getting prepared because we don't know when that winter weather is going to hit, but we have to be prepared as well. And I think it's really important that we kind of hit that as part of the State Patrol, you know, we don't drive any different vehicles than kind of the general public pretty much drives. A lot of our vehicles are either two-wheel or some are all-wheel drive vehicles, but we have to be prepared in the winter to get around. So one feature that we do is we switch most of our tires are all switched from regular radial tires. We do switch to a winter snow tire. So most of our vehicles are all prepped with those snow tires. Also, we have to get our cars ready. So we will get our batteries checked. We don't want to have a dead battery because we have to make sure our vehicle starts in the morning or at the evening for our shifts. We get our blades, wiper blades, and just get that car all winter ready. And then also we have to get our winter survival kits. We do a lot of educating the public to make sure that they carry their winter survival kits. A lot of our troopers, they're going to carry their winter survival kits. They're going to have their blankets, bottle of water, granola bars, cell phone chargers, and just different things they're going to have with them. Take us back really fast to last winter. We actually had several troopers. They actually had to sleep in their patrol cars up in northern Iowa due to the fact that they were stuck on the roadways. They couldn't get out. They couldn't get anywhere. So they had to be prepared in that snow event.
Okay, so how does the Iowa DOT prepare for a snow event? So as we mentioned, October 15th is our magical date that we have to have a certain amount of our equipment prepped. The thing about equipment is there's always ongoing maintenance issues. We're always checking and making sure blades are functioning properly. All of our sanders, our brine equipment is always functioning properly. So equipment prep and maintenance is an ongoing issue throughout the winter season. We're also watching the weather constantly, and we look at multiple weather information sources to see what's happening, look at the timing of things, and follow especially the contracted weather service provider that we have through DTN and looking at forecasts. Now this time of year it's very critical because we're getting into a time where temperature fluctuation is quite significant, and bridge frost, black ice is a concern. So you will see periodically this time of year us out pre-treating the roadways. And when we talk about pre-treating, that's when we're applying brine down to the roadway, and particularly bridge decks, because of the bridge frost that can form overnight when we have the conditions like we've seen. The reason we put the brine down is to get that material out on the road surface so that it can activate and be there to help, in this case, avoid the formation of bridge frost. But once we get into snow events, we also do the pre-treating as well to get that material out on the roadway so that once the snow and precipitation starts landing on the roadway, the brine can start activating and doing its job. And it helps us avoid the snow and ice from bonding to the pavement, which then allows us the ability to clear off the snow and ice much faster, much easier, and get the roadway back to what we would call our near normal winter driving condition. By pre-treating as well, it also allows us to use less material and still maintain a very effective treatment practice. Typically when we pre-treat, we put down somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 gallons of brine per lane mile. There's just over 2 pounds of salt in a gallon of brine, so at 50 gallons, you're putting down about 100 pounds of salt per lane mile. Standard rock salt treatment practices, we typically use anywhere around 200 to 250 pounds of rock salt. So by using the brine, we're using less material, and the material is out there and ready to start activating and doing its job once precipitation hits. We're also looking at our staffing needs, and as many of you probably know, we have somewhere around 1,000 full-time employees, and we have the authority to bring on somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600 seasonal employees that help augment our full-time staff. And that that has been a pretty standard practice for us the last couple of years. So in terms of weather forecasting, we've shifted our practice a little bit starting last winter season with our contracted provider, and they provide us daily forecasts that we use along with other weather resources. However, we've also given them some criteria to follow. So if we have an event forecasted that meets the criteria of 6 inches of snow or more, quarter of an inch of ice or more, potential blizzard conditions, or we have a winter storm watch in effect, then our contracted provider shifts from a daily forecast mode into a event forecast mode. And that forecast is provided to a number of agencies outside of the DOT as well, State Patrol, Homeland Security, DAS, and it's to provide situational awareness and to be a trigger point for each one of our agencies to use as a way for them to start doing their own individual coordination, planning, whatever the case may be. Yeah, and in addition to that forecasting piece, we also hold a couple of different types of briefings. So as depending upon the situation and the impact of the storm, we will conduct executive briefings with the DOT management team, State Patrol, Executive Management, and Homeland Security. And when we run into instances like we did this past February where we had interstate closures and an event that impacted the majority of the state, then we obviously will have coordination calls amongst the DOT, State Patrol, and other players to talk about interstate closures, put the plan together as to how we're going to address it, how we're going to get the information out to the media, and then as well as talking about how we're going to address the reopening of the interstate, how that's going to take place, look at timing, and most of those decisions are being made down at the boots on the ground, the field troop, and the highway maintenance supervisor level.
So to talk a little bit about how is the State Patrol going to prep for a major event. So our kind of triggers are watching the weather forecast, but then like Craig has previously said, some of these coordination calls that we do in coordination with the DOT and their people that they have contracted with them, we will all sit together on these conference calls. We're going to talk about all the information that's coming with these major events. And this is where it's so important, the relationship that we're working with the DOT and ourselves, is that they are all sharing this information amongst all of us. And so this kind of triggers the State Patrol's response as far as looking at what are our staffing needs, what do we need to have out in the field. Do we need to start looking at maybe that we're going to have to hold some of our staff over a little bit on a shift? Are we going to have to bring a few troopers out to help in certain areas? It's kind of really tricky for us to always be planning that, and so it's kind of a on-the-go situation that we need to look at. So those calls that we're doing with the DOT are really important to us. And also, as far as media outreach, we're going to start pushing a shared message from the DOT. You'll see that on our socials going forward, is that we're going to have a shared message with the DOT about upcoming events, what to expect, different driving tips, different travel plans, certain areas you might want to avoid. That message is going to come mostly from the DOT, but we're going to be sharing it on our sites as well. So the shared message of where we push people as far as getting travel information from the State Patrol standpoint, that is going to be pushed to everybody to watch the 511 site. So whether they have that on an app or they want to go to the actual website to see that, we will be directing everyone to see that information at Iowa 511.
Great. And some of the graphics that both of our agencies tend to share quite often, you'll see here on the screen that we have a screenshot of the road conditions that are off the 511 map. Those are always time-stamped there at the bottom so you can see what is the most current. Often with social media, things get shared and things get out of date rather quickly, so we're very cognizant of making sure people understand what that snapshot in time is. You'll also see operational pieces for us. This particular piece talks about how light snow can cause hazardous conditions, how the blowing can cause black ice and other conditions that people need to be aware of. And then we also post pictures from our plow cams. We also have our field staff, and you'll find this from both the DPS standpoint as well as the DOT standpoint, is that we have our boots on the ground staff snapping pictures and sending that back so that we can share that to the public so they get a really accurate picture of what is going on when they go out to do their traveling. During an actual event, DOT really ramps up their communications, and a lot of our information is shared on social media, and I'm going to share those outlets with you here in just a moment. As far as the media goes, we really do limit our news releases during this time because we want that reserved for really big, important events. Primarily, the main times that we will send out a news release is if we have interstate closures, and then typically once that interstate opens back up, we will also do a news release for that. If conditions are extreme enough that we're actually pulling plows, that is going to signal a very dangerous travel situation that we really rely on the media to help get that message out for us. So both those interstate closures as well as the plows being pulled are big triggers that you as media personnel can help us push that message to people to not travel or make smart travel decisions. And then if there's a sudden unexpected changes in road condition, as we've mentioned here today, we keep a really close eye on the forecast, but sometimes there is a change where winds will pick up or there's some unexpected black ice, visibility issues due to blowing snow. Those changes we always try to reiterate through news releases so people understand that unexpected change. One of the things that you can always do is subscribe to our news releases. We have two different outlets. One of them is our actual news releases, and if you go to iowadot.gov/news, there's a self-subscribe button. You can sign up for those, and you can customize how you receive that information. We also have a blog in that same area that is less hard-hitting news items, but it also has some human interest pieces if you're interested in that. So as I mentioned before, we do rely very heavily on social media. It's our main communication tool because we can get information out quickly. We can also do a lot of visual sharing on that that's just not possible through news releases. And one of the things that we always encourage media or personal, even on your personal accounts, to go ahead and share both the State Patrol as well as the DOT's posts, because you guys are the ones that are helping us disseminate the information. For Facebook, we have a main DOT page, and that is primarily focused on road condition updates. We include a lot of photos. Our plow locations are available on that 511 traveler information map, as well as you can click on camera icons and get pictures from the view of the windshield of a plow. We call those plow cams. We post a lot of driving safety tips as well as just how we do business operationally. And we try to share a lot of this information that we're sharing today so that the public can get a view into what we do and how we work to treat the roads and keep them safe. We also have 511 accounts on Facebook. We have 5 regional accounts and 1 statewide account. They are really focused on information specifically about incidents. So if we have a road blockage due to a crash or maybe something has drifted shut, that is going to be your hard-hitting place to get that is on the 511 accounts. We also share a lot of that when it gets to a really extreme case that's going to really impact traffic we'll share that on the main DOT page. And then some road condition updates and traffic-related safety tips are also shared on the 511 accounts. Twitter is very similar. We have an Iowa DOT main Twitter page, as well as the 511 accounts. We have 6 regional 511 accounts, and then we actually have 5 metro locations, and then again, the statewide account. Again, the types of information that we share between Facebook and Twitter are very, very similar.
So as far as the State Patrol's communication during these winter events, we're going to be really aligned with the DOT on that message. And like I said before, a lot of their messages will be shared on our social media so that we're giving out kind of a consistent message as far as winter weather blockages or updated 511 conditions. You're going to see the map a lot that comes from the DOT's 511 site. You're going to see that shared a lot on our page. So that way, again, that same consistent message is spread. A lot of our updated information as far as what's all going to be on there will be primarily focused on our site when we have an incident or a major incident and incident-specific data. So we'll also be trying to share out of those different snow events, how many crashes, different things like that. We'll be updating when we have those, because that's typically a hot question that's usually asked as far as crashes, motorist assist, stuff like that. So we'll be updating that after some of those significant events, so that way that information is available for you and for everyone. Again, we'll be sharing it through the Facebook, Twitter, some news releases, and should it come in the event of some major incidents, we might end up having some joint press conferences. But again, those will probably only press conference if we have some major events where we have to get different media partners and different people all together in one location. We ask like the media and stuff, help us kind of share that message. So we're all kind of out here teaming together to give that message. So we would ask any media partners reach out. We'll be able to give any weather tips, weather related accident things, updates. Reach out to us on that. We'll be more than happy to accommodate those requests. We'll be available for any on-camera phone interviews. I'm not sure where everybody's at that's going to be listening to this, but I've done plenty of phone interviews, TV interviews. All hours of the day my phone rings, so that's what it's available for. So reach out, and then also any ride-alongs. We'll try to accommodate those the best we can. Those aren't always the most things that we can accommodate for every snow event, but once in a while we'll try to make those accommodations.
Okay, so if you are interested in scheduling or conducting any type of interview with the Iowa DOT, talking about an upcoming event, what we're doing to prepare, anything related to winter operations, I would be your main point of contact. And as you can see on the screen right now, my email address and media line phone contact information is there. We've done multiple interviews here over both phone and on-camera interviews over the last few years. So we will do our best to accommodate you and your request as best as possible.
As far as the State Patrol, myself, Sergeant Alex Dinkla, I will be the main contact as far as the State Patrol. And so, again, anything that you might have questions on related to these weather topics, when we have these weather events, number of incidents, you have questions on those crash data, motorist assist data, just any safety tips or anything that you need to ask or you would like on your either radio station, TV station, wherever that media blitz needs to be spent, reach out either by my email, or the best way is usually just to contact me on that cell phone. If you do call my office line, I do have that forwarded to my cell phone as well. So reach out to that 515-443-6644 number, and I'll get in touch with you. So we do want to at least kind of hit on this. I know it's been a topic that we've touched on throughout over the years, but we want to make sure that everyone is staying safe when we're out here in these winter conditions. So I have been presented here recently. What can the media do as far as trying? I know all of you guys want to be safe. You guys want to try to get the best camera shots, camera angles, whatnot. But we want to keep you safe, and I know that you guys want to keep safe as well. So we would really strongly encourage you to look at the DOT's traffic cameras, plow cams for weather footage if you can. Because in the event, we really are going to discourage you from going to the roadside. Respect all road closure points. So when we have these major events, so we look at last year just real quickly, and with I-35 being shut down, those roads are closed for a reason. When we have other people trying to go around the barricades and stuff, it puts a lot more people in danger, and we realize that you guys are trying to get a good camera video and some different things, but once one vehicle goes around it, typically we have 2, 3, and 5 more going around it. So try to respect those road closures. And always remember that when you do park along the side of the road, so if we have a crash, traffic shut down, it is actually illegal to stop on the side of the road. So again, we want you guys to be able to get some good footage. So we respect that, but also please help us out to know that anytime that you park on the side of the road and you're on there, it's actually creating more traffic issues. So we don't want to, one thing we try to strive is not to have a lot of secondary and third crashes. And so anytime that more vehicles are on the side of the road, that backup is just continuing. So we try to get vehicles out of there as soon as possible. As far as ask your media contact for the safe reporting location. So reach out to us, reach out to myself, maybe Craig, reach out to different people that we can try to put you in the best location as far as getting that camera angle, the best footage. Look ahead and see if there's any overpasses or some different places that might be a safe area. Most cameras today have really good zoom lenses. You might not be able to be right on the scene, but we'll try to put you in the best location. Most of the time during these major crashes, our officers on scene are really trying to be focused on their work. And trying to get in the middle of them to try to get a camera footage doesn't always work, but every once in a while, if it's a major, long, drawn-out closure, we can try to accommodate those. But some of these quick ones where we have a crash that's actively working, our main goal is to try to hurry up, get the road opened as soon as possible. And always remember, most people that I've seen do a really good job of it, but remember to wear that safety gear. So that's for your safety as well as other people's safety to be able to see you.
Great. So Sergeant Dinklet had mentioned a couple of places to get camera footage and other things. So one of the places that you can always go is this, the 511 map, as we talked about. This is the website address. We also have apps for both Android and Apple phones, so you can certainly download that. That 511 site has a lot of great information. It has got painted road conditions for winter road driving conditions. It's also got incidents on there, and you can always click on individual segments. Not everybody knows that, but if there's an incident, you can click on that to get more information, as well as the road conditions. You can click on that and find out what kind of precipitation is causing the roadway to be partially or fully covered. You can get the camera location, so both the permanently mounted cameras that are on the roadways that are typically primarily on the interstate system. You can click on those, as well as when our plow cams are out, you'll see those. Those look like a camera icon, like a handheld camera icon, and you can click on those and get a variety of shots. Please feel free to screen capture those or download those and use them in your media stories and broadcasts. We also have our dynamic message signs, and those are going to carry any winter travel impacts. So if we have major storms coming, or we anticipate visibility, or if there's a roadway closure due to winter events, those will be on the dynamic message signs in that area. You can find all of those on one of the layers on 511. We also have a couple of KML and REST service feeds for those road conditions, and you can get those. A lot of our media stations already get those. Some of the stations that we work with have been using an older version that is from a source called Mesonet, and that actually uses Iowa DOT data, but Iowa State is the one that kind of aggregates that data, and they use a little different colors and variabilities than the 511 map does. And one of the things that we would like to do is to make sure that the viewing public has a consistent view from what they see on the news station feeds, as well as if they're going to go out to that 511 map. And we have been working on the Mesonet site, and that's one of the things that will likely go away in the next year or so. So we are encouraging all of our media partners to contact David Reynolds, and his email is here on screen. And you can contact him if you currently don't have access to our road condition feeds, and he can certainly get you hooked up with that. In addition, anytime our traffic cameras, our permanent traffic cameras capture anything, whether that's an incident or whether that's weather conditions, that is available for 72 hours, and we can always pull those for you. There is a website here that has a request form, and you just fill that out. You fill out the time of the incident, the location of the incident, and if there is a camera in that area, we will pull what we have available. I will caution that those cameras are movable, so sometimes they're not always pointed in the direction of an incident, as well as if it is a major incident and State Patrol is doing a investigation on that crash, you may not be able to have access to that footage immediately, but typically once they're done with that investigation, they will release that. But that is the place where you can make that request for footage.
Okay, as Andrea had mentioned previously, we have a number of different winter media, winter statistic types of products that are available. And what you're seeing here on the screen right now is one that we've put together that gives you a breakdown of our staffing levels, both from a full-time and a seasonal staff perspective. A little bit of information on our materials. So you see there our 5-year average usage is just over 140,000 tons of salt per year, and about 28 million gallons of brine per year, and then a breakdown of our equipment. So some of our major pieces of equipment obviously is our snow plows, motor graders. We also have 27 tow plows in our inventory, and what that is a plow that is pulled by a snowplow truck that allows us to basically plow 2 lanes at the same time with one truck and one operator. We utilize these pieces of equipment primarily in the Des Moines area, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Coralville, and a lot of times you will see those in what we call gang plowing operations, where we go in with a number of trucks all at one time and basically clear the whole entire roadway segment at one time. And then we also have 11 of the heavy-duty self-propelled snow blowers that you probably saw in operation last February when we had the significant event up in the northern part of the state. So we have this type of information that is available if you would like to request that through us.
As far as the State Patrol numbers, what do we have here in the state of Iowa for the State Patrol? We have 15 districts that are located all over Iowa. We have kind of really close in that neighborhood of about 330 troopers, plus all of the different civilian support staff that work around the State Patrol. The miles that we covered as our patrol cars were driving around in fiscal year 2018 Over 14 million miles is how many miles that we patrolled. So we are actively out there amongst all roads in Iowa. So whether it's a state road, county blacktop, it doesn't matter. Our troopers are going to make their way around these roads all over Iowa to help Iowans. Last year we did helped roughly 19,000 stranded motorists all over Iowa. Excuse me. And the State Patrol alone, we investigated over 4,000 crashes. So our officers were very busy. And as far as doing fatal crashes, typically the Iowa State Patrol, we will investigate over 3/4 of the fatal crashes in Iowa. Our technical accident investigators are doing that. So we really pride ourselves in doing those accident investigations. So something that I'm going to kind of be sending out, so if you kind of look at this graphic on the lower right-hand side for winter-related accident or incidents, so that's typically something that I'm going to forward out on our social medias, and I will be able to provide you all. This is an example of the last two incidents that we had, snow events that we had. So just the State Patrol alone, we covered nearly 200 crashes, and we assisted nearly 300 motorist assists. So if you need those will be provided. Just reach out and we can definitely provide stuff like that to you for your newscast.
Great, and now that's all the information that we have to share with you today. Here is all of our contact information. I do notice that Debbie's end of her phone number there has dropped off, so the number is actually 515-725-6093. I do want to remind everyone that we are recording this webinar, and so anyone that was on the attendee invite list will receive a link to be able to download this webinar once it is available. But now I'd like to take a moment to open it up to any questions that you all might have. Wow. We must have done a really nice job of covering winter operations. Again, if anyone doesn't have any additional questions, feel free to contact any one of us here on the list. We're happy to help you out. If you don't know who to contact in a winter event, feel free to contact anybody on this list and we can certainly get you routed in the right direction. If I don't hear any other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here and thank everyone for their time today.